Live from WRAL News Headquarters in Raleigh, your #1 source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Right now on WRAL, how North Carolina Central University is moving forward at this hour after 2 active shooter lockdowns during homecoming weekend.
Also, candidates continue to visit North Carolina as more voters cast their ballots. The 2 new visits announced in the last few hours.
And new information on the McDonald's E. coli outbreak, why the Quarter Pounder is back on the menu, even though federal inspectors aren't sure where the bacteria came from. A lot of stories we're tracking for you this noon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Ken Smith. Thanks so much for joining us. Counselors are available at North Carolina Central students after 4 people were shot on campus during homecoming festivities.
The university had 2 lockdowns in a matter of hours Saturday night. WRAL's Monica Casey is there on campus. Monica, we have a lot of unanswered questions about what happened over the weekend.
Yeah, this was a difficult weekend here that was supposed to be about celebrating Eagle Pride. Instead, this university was plagued by 2 active shooter incidents, and in one of them, 4 people were shot. The first active shooter alert came in just before 7:45 Saturday night, and no one was shot in that situation. NC Central says 3 shots were fired into the air, and 1 person is in custody for that incident. The alert was lifted about 25 minutes after it went out, but then just before 9 o'clock, another active shooter alert was issued, and that time there were multiple people injured. I've been going through Broadcastify radio traffic for both of these lockdowns, and it was so busy that at one point, first responders say they have run out of EMS units.
We got another breathing problem over here. We're probably have to get you to respond to that if we have no more EMS units.
NC Central has not released the name of the suspect from the first shooting. We do know of 2 gun-related arrests from Saturday on campus. A man named Danye Medin faces 2 felony charges, one for discharging a firearm on educational property and another for rioting. Another man, Jordan Virgil, is charged with having a gun on educational property. NC Central has not said whether anyone has been arrested in that second shooting that left 4 people, including a student, injured. We have asked for more information about that, as well as other questions about safety and security here on campus. We have not yet heard back. Live in Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, a 24-year-old has been arrested in connection to that shooting that happened at Crabtree Valley Mall over the weekend. This is Jaquez Brown. He was taken into custody. He is charged with assault on a female and communicating threats. He's also charged with discharging a weapon into occupied property, which is a felony. We do have video from over the weekend. Here's what happened Saturday afternoon. The Raleigh Police Department responded to multiple calls of shots being fired in a parking deck outside the mall. After that gunfire was exchanged, police said another suspect drove away from the area, hit another vehicle, and kept driving. No injuries were reported in all of this, but several vehicles were damaged. Police have determined that Brown was directly involved. They say that the investigation is ongoing and additional arrests are possible.
Authorities in Sampson County are investigating a deadly shooting on Brantwood Court in Roseboro. An EMS official on the scene telling WRAL Breaking News Tracker the shooting Saturday night killed 2 people. We're working to learn the identities and what led up to that shooting.
We are 8 days away from Election Day, and the crowds at early voting sites are steady. New numbers out this noon show 2.8 million people have already voted in North Carolina.
That's more than 36% of registered voters here in our state. Candidates have about a week to appeal to remaining voters. WRAL's Heidi Kirk hit the polls this morning to capture the long lines for early voting.
The first early voters of the week have arrived here at the Herbert C. Young Community Center in Cary. I'm going to step out of the way and have you take a look at the lines early this morning. Now, the North Carolina State Board of Elections has seen record voter turnout at 22 early voting locations. Now, in Wake County, they've created a wait time tracker, and it's an interactive map to show you the closest location nearest to you. Now, early voting runs through 3 p.m. on Saturday, November 2nd. You can cast an early ballot at any polling location that does early voting in the county where you are registered. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News in Cary.
Well, we have all need to know about the upcoming election in our WRAL voter guide. We have it all for you. You can find it on our website, WRAL.com. We have information on how you can vote, the candidates on the ballots, and what you need to know to take with you.
3 of the 4 candidates on the presidential ballot will be in North Carolina on Wednesday. Vice President Kamala Harris will be here in Raleigh. Her running mate, Tim Walz, will be in Asheville and Charlotte. And within the last 2 hours, we've learned former President Donald Trump will be in Rocky Mount.
That chill in the air yesterday didn't stick around for long. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL patio to show us why temperatures are on the upswing again. Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Good afternoon. Yes, we are looking at warmer temperatures as we're getting closer to Halloween. You think of Halloween as being kind of creepy and chilly and all of that. It's going to be far from that this year. So what is happening? We're going to see temperatures warming up ahead of a front, which is right now west of the Mississippi. As it gets closer to us, that high pressure system that's sitting out in the Atlantic will switch our winds and they'll start to come out of the south-southeast. That's going to start a warming trend for us. So we're going to see highs near records and it will stay dry for Halloween. And certainly if you had to choose between warm and dry or cool and wet, I know what probably trick-or-treaters would want. So we're going to go from 69 today to 81 for Halloween Day. We take a look at our Halloween planner in terms of temperatures at around 5 o'clock, 76, at 7 o'clock, 71, and 9 o'clock, 66. So the temperatures are really going to feel pleasant, even though it'll be a hot day. Once we get to trick-or-treat time, it will feel more comfortable. But that forecast high in Raleigh, 81, the record high 85, in Fayetteville, 83, and the record 86. So we're definitely looking at some very warm conditions. Coming up, I'll show you when another front will come in behind that to cool us back down.
Elizabeth, thanks. Parts of western North Carolina are starting to reopen to visitors just over a month after Helene destroyed several parts of the area. WRAL's Noah Klein joins us now with what to know if you plan to travel there. Noah.
Renee, parts of Buncombe County, including several attractions in Asheville, are starting to open back up. The state created this map. Take a look. So we zoomed it in to the western part of the state. It shows which counties and towns are ready for visitors to start coming into that area. Right now, Asheville has that yellow dot, which basically means you just want to call ahead. Once you have that plan for what you want to do there, you'll better get a better idea of what's open, what's not. Swananoa, meanwhile, remains closed to visitors. And when we zoom in even more, you can see some of the trouble spots we're still talking about spread across Yancey County up into Spruce Pine area, even further up into Banner Elk. I-40, meanwhile, remains closed in both directions for 43 miles. The issue is between exit 432 in Tennessee and exit 20 in North Carolina. Good news, though, more help is on the way. Concert for Carolina in Charlotte raised more than $24.5 million for Helene recovery. More than 75,000 music fans filled Bank of America for that sold-out show Saturday. North Carolina natives Luke Combs and Eric Church were just a few of the performers. If you're interested in helping, we have a link on WRAL.com. Just search help.
Well, this year's White House Christmas tree comes from a farm in Avery County that survived Hurricane Helene. WRAL was there when White House staff chose this year's tree at Cartner's Christmas Tree Farm. The tree is about 20 feet tall and 12 feet wide. It will be harvested on November 20th and make its way to the White House in time for the Christmas decorations. Well, helping farmers in the western part of our state may be as simple as buying a Christmas tree.
If they really want to help the community and us as farmers to go out and buy a real North Carolina Fraser fir, and that'll put money for us to fix our roads, our barns, our bridges. It puts money back in the community and employs, the local people here, and that's who's really hurting.
Yeah, you heard it from the farmer's mouth himself. Operation Save Christmas encourages people who are buying a tree this year to buy a North Carolina Fraser fir. Christmas trees are an economic driver for a number of counties in the northwest corner of our state. The trees that will be harvested this year were not affected by Helene. Any impact on prices will be seen in a few years with this year's seedlings.
More than $1.1 million raised through WRAL Cares and the Music for the Mountains concert. It was a big night in Raleigh last night as thousands came together at Red Hat Amphitheater to send aid to the mountains. Some big names in country and bluegrass music like Chatham County Line and Old Crow Medicine Show donated their time, energy, and voices. Old Crow frontman Ketch Secor says headlining the show was a personal cause.
Until the roads are safe and the infrastructure's back in place and we get to go do that work, we're here in Raleigh because this is as close as we can get. And at a safe distance, we're able to raise a big arms of support to make a difference.
And it will help in the long road to recovery. The total estimated cost of damage from Helene is $53 billion. There are still ways for you to support Western North Carolina. Every donation counts. Go to WRAL.com or scan the QR code right there on your screen, and you can make an impact.
Next at noon, what we've learned today about the McDonald's E. coli outbreak, why the Quarter Pounder is back on the menu with a change.
Also, with campaign ads flooding the airways, many people are feeling stressed. Some advice on how to manage your stress level with 8 days remaining before Election Day.
And why the disaster at Notre Dame could mean you'll pay more on your next trip to France.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Back here in the WRAL Live Center, Elon Musk is being sued by the Philadelphia District Attorney to block the $1 million giveaway to registered voters. The DA has come out today and said that they want to end the lottery-style stunt that election experts and the Justice Department have said that it might violate federal law. They argue that the effort is an illegal, unregulated lottery, and Musk's America Political Action Committee began giving away this $1 million a day to a registered voter who signs a petition pledging support to the First and Second Amendments. Musk insists that he is not paying people to register to vote. He said this is not a petition to vote or register for anyone. It is a petition in support of the Constitution of the United States and in particular freedom of speech and the right to bear arms. A hearing has been scheduled for this Friday.
Ceasefire talks are happening in Qatar regarding the war in Gaza. These are the first talks since the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar earlier this month. This comes as Israeli officials are investigating a suspected terror attack north of Tel Aviv. One person was killed. More than 30 people were injured after a truck rammed into a bus stop next to a military base. Yesterday, Israeli officials detained at least 30 medical staff workers at a hospital in Gaza. The day before, airstrikes on a residential building in Gaza killed 40 people.
NATO confirmed this morning North Korea troops have been sent to help Russia in its war against Ukraine. NATO Secretary General estimates thousands of troops have joined the Russian effort. It is seen as a significant escalation in the war that has been going on now for 3 years. The Secretary General did not indicate how or when NATO allies would respond to this development.
A major update in the McDonald's deadly E. coli outbreak. The chain says its beef is safe, and hundreds of restaurants have put Quarter Pounders back on the menu. NBC's Maggie Vespa is outside corporate headquarters in Chicago to explain why those new burgers won't be quite the same.
McDonald's bringing back the Quarter Pounder, effectively ruling out the beef and calling those raw slivered onions served on the iconic burger the, quote, likely source of the E. coli outbreak that's now sickened 75 people, the CDC says, across 13 states. All of this comes after the Colorado Department of Agriculture announced yesterday they've tested fresh and frozen beef patties from across that state, which is home to dozens of E. coli cases, and says all of the beef testing came back negative for traces of E. coli. So with that in mind, McDonald's is now almost entirely turning its focus to those onions sourced through California-based supplier Taylor Farms. That company saying in a statement on Friday they're, quote, saddened by the outbreak and they've issued a preemptive recall. Amid all of this, McDonald's also announcing after pulling the Quarter Pounder from its menu at 900 locations that they're bringing it back nationwide, but noting in several states, at least for the time being, it will be served without onions. At the same time, overnight, McDonald's president releasing a new video effectively apologizing to customers and stressing the food currently being served in their restaurants is safe. This comes as the company is facing mounting lawsuits, with at least 2 by our count filed so far, with one attorney telling me he's been retained by 31 families. Maggie Vespa, NBC News, Chicago.
McDonald's might have ruled the patties as the outbreak source, but that doesn't mean federal regulators have. The FDA website still says it's uncertain which ingredient made people sick.
Some major consumer and inflation reports are due out later this week, including the Consumer Price Index. Let's take a look at the stocks this noon hour. The Dow is on the plus side, more than 290 points. There you see it right there. The S&P on the plus side, more than 23 points. And the NASDAQ also in the green this noon hour.
After a brief cool down yesterday, today, and for much of the week, we're going to have a nice warm up. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner in the WRAL Severe Weather Center. That is, if you like, September weather instead of October and November weather.
It's really pleasant on the patio right now, especially, over here in the shade. We're going to see highs only at around 70 for today. That gets us kind of into that Goldilocks weather kind of phase. We take a live look at the gardens behind me, and you can see it just looks so pretty. The grass is green. The gardeners were out here last week putting in all of the winter plantings. That reminds me, I need to get some pansies put out myself. 63 is the current temperature. Our dew point's at 47, so feeling very comfortable. We'll climb just a few more degrees to about 69 for the high temperature today. Here's a look at the big picture. We have high pressure that's actually sitting under the banner there. It's starting to move away from us, and as it does, it'll begin to shift our winds to more southeasterly and then southerly, and gradually that will help to allow our temperatures to climb. We're also going to be in a fairly dry pattern, but we will see some moisture kind of sneaking in here as we see that southeasterly wind. That's going to bring a little bit of cloud cover for tomorrow and possibly a sprinkle, especially east of the Triangle area. We have very little chance. We put 20% chance in, but again, it'll be a little cloudy in the morning for tomorrow and the chance for just a quick sprinkle. Other than that, we're looking at dry conditions for the next several days. Around town today, 69 for the high, 68 in Durham, and 72 degrees for the high in Fayetteville. I love this photo. I noticed over the weekend in my neighborhood that the trees are really starting to show some pretty color. So thank you to Charles Wrench, who sent us this photo from Raleigh. Gorgeous tree there. And we're getting into that lovely time of year, and our trees probably will peak within the next 2 weeks or so. WRAL.com, search Weather Watchers, and you can drop us your photos there. We would love to show them on TV. Today, temperatures will be right about normal. Yesterday was pretty chilly. Of course, we were in the 50s for most of the day. Cloudy skies, started with a little bit of rain, but we're going to see things really turning around. Notice all that warmth that's back to the west. Once we start to see our wind shifting, we're going to start to have some warmer air here, and we'll really feel it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday before another front comes in. 69 is actually our normal high for this time of year, and so we jump to 79 on Wednesday, and then 81 Thursday, 80 on Friday. And of course, as we talked about, those temperatures are going to be fairly close to records. Halloween forecast really looks fantastic. It's going to be a warm day, but we'll see a good bit of sunshine. 76 though at 5 o'clock, 71 at 7, and at 9 o'clock 66. So those temperatures will feel great, especially if your kid has a fairly thin costume. If your kid has a big furry costume, it may be a little rough for you on Halloween. It's not the warmest, but not too far from it. 85 in 2019 was the warmest high on Halloween, and the coldest low for Halloween, 30 degrees in 1963. And in 1887, it rained 4 inches, and we're not going to be anywhere close to that. We don't see 80s on Halloween that often, only 9 times since that batch of data has been kept since 1944 there at RDU. So we don't see it too often. Another thing that happens over the weekend that'll remind you of fall, we go back to standard time. So the sunset today is 6:24, and on Sunday, 5:19. We do get that extra hour of sleep, but you got to kind of readjust your schedule. We have a front that comes through on Friday that will help to drop our temperatures. We also have some activity that could develop in the tropics. We'll talk more about that coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks. North Carolina's voter ID law is in effect for the upcoming election. Coming up at 4, 5 on your side shares what your options are when you're told you don't have the proper ID to vote.
Also, the town of Cary has a unique crime-fighting tool that allows them to get live looks at the scene before officers even arrive, how it works, and how it can help save lives. That's tonight at 5. The news continues now. There are all the ads and campaigns this election season starting to stress you out. Next at noon, 3 things you can do to manage your reaction as the campaigns wind down.
And how an Avery County man turned a $20 bill into a windfall. We're hearing from plenty of you that this election season is, simply put, stressing you out. Campaigns and ads bombarding you with messages of how consequential this election is. That weight can take a toll. CNN's Brian Abel has some ways to manage the stress.
Consequences of him ever being president again are brutally serious.
If Kamala gets 4 more years, she will obliterate our economy.
With messages like those feeding the notion that the 2024 presidential election is the most consequential in American history, it can be easy to feel stressed.
And being exposed to so many news that are not always positive or happy or encouraging leads to more sense of distress.
There are ways to manage the anxiety. Mental health experts suggest limiting time exposed to stressful content, like doom scrolling on social media, and do things that are good for your mind, body, and spirit.
Self-care routines that we all have or should have that include physical activation, engaging in activities that are pleasurable, making sure that discussions that we have with friends or family members are not necessarily around the topics that are currently stressful.
And if you find yourself frustrated by a friend, family member, or coworker with different political views, UCLA's Dr. Emmanuel Maidenberg says it's important to remember people are more than just their political beliefs.
Recognizing that opinions, including political opinions, are based in our personal life experiences. Thinking about it that way allows for some compassion to understand that the other person may have different view or different interpretation of some of the things that happen.
In Washington, Brian Abel reporting.
Well, let's turn attention out to sports. Game 3 of the World Series happening tonight. The LA Dodgers superstar Shohei Ohtani is expected to play. Ohtani injured his shoulder on a slide during the game this past Saturday. Dodgers ultimately won that game and are leading the World Series 2-0. Game 3 takes the series to Yankee Stadium in the Bronx for the first time in 15 years. The game starts at 8 o'clock tonight. You can watch it on a sister station, Fox 15. Week 8 of the NFL season wraps up tonight. The Pittsburgh Steelers will host the New York Giants at Acrisure Stadium. Kickoff is set for 8:15 tonight. You can watch that game on ESPN. Well, coming up in our next half hour, details on the construction project that could throw a wrench in your morning commute in North Raleigh.
And the message Governor Cooper had at an economic conference designed to bring Japanese businesses to southern states. First, here's a look at your winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Heads up for drivers in Wake County. Work to improve a bridge on Falls of Noose Road is now underway.
WRAL's Kelsey Coffey reports this closure will be in place for weeks.
These lane closures could start impacting your morning commute today, and you can see that there's already a sign here that warns drivers about the lane closures here on Falls of Noose Road. And you may notice that it says October 25th there. That's because the bridge repair was originally scheduled for Friday, but it's been pushed back to this morning. This is a look at the area that will be impacted by bridge repairs. These lane closures will happen in phases. The northbound lanes from Old Falls of Noose Road to Wakefield Pines Drive will close first. That's expected to last for about a month. Then phase 2 will start in the southbound lanes of those same roads. Those southbound lane closures should also last for several weeks, so we're expecting that this entire project will wrap up by the end of the year. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Raleigh.
Corporate leaders from Japan are in Charlotte today looking to invest in North Carolina and other states. The Southeast U.S. Japan Conference brings together leaders to talk international trade. The last time North Carolina hosted this annual meeting was 2008 in Raleigh. Nearly 31,000 North Carolinians go to work at a Japanese company every day. Governor Cooper says North Carolina looks forward to strengthening its ties with the nation.
Over thousands of miles of land and sea and several generations, North Carolina's relationship with Japan has grown strong and resolute, producing valuable successes for our people. Let's continue to embrace the future together.
Thank you again. The annual conference encourages direct investment from Japanese companies and boosts exports from North Carolina companies to Japan.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center, this is kind of exciting. The issue of broken McFlurry machines at McDonald's may finally be resolved. McDonald's has said today its restaurants were not able to fix their soft serve ice cream machines because the company that manufactures these machines owned the copyright and exclusive rights to repair them. That is until now. Starting today, a copyright exemption will go into effect, giving these restaurants the right to repair their own machines. It bypasses these digital locks that had prevented the machines from being fixed. And McDonald's broken ice cream machines, they've gained a cult following. You've heard of this before, these machines always being broken. There is even a customer-run website that tracks these malfunctions. It's called McBroken. McBroken no more.
All right, it is a thing, I promise you. Well, a house went up in flames in Durham on South Miami Boulevard. Part of the road was blocked off yesterday afternoon as crews put out that fire. And WRAL learned this was not the first time a fire happened at that particular location. Durham Fire says this started around 2:30. It took firefighters about 10 minutes to put that fire out. A man was inside the house at the time. He got out safely and was not taken to the hospital. The fire could be seen from miles down the road. People described what they saw and smelled.
As soon as I opened the door, I could smell the terrible smell. It smelled like almost, I don't know if you've ever smelled burning tires, but it smelled like burning tires to me. And you could see the black, thick smoke. It smelled so bad.
Yeah, people who live in the area say this is the second fire in just a few months at that location. Durham Fire confirmed the fire happened on June 8th. We've asked the Durham County Fire Marshal's office what caused this fire. We're still waiting to hear back as this investigation continues.
And now today's county by county coverage is brought to us by the letter P. You'll see what I mean. We start in Chatham County, where the town of Pittsboro saw a first this morning. The mayor gave the town's first State of the Town address. Mayor Kyle Shipp focused on efforts to improve residents' quality of life. He also spoke about supporting local business and the way government and infrastructure can support long-term growth. And now we go over to Pinehurst in Moore County. Pinehurst has a new noise and light pollution ordinance as we look live. The move sets specific levels of noise that are allowed during the day and overnight. The previous ordinance compared noise to the regular noise level in the location and left enforcement up to the individual officer. The measure also sets new rules on lighting that spills onto another person's property. And our final P, Person County authorities are spreading the news. The county has its first rabies case of 2024. A stray cat found on Willie Gray Road in Timberlake has tested positive for rabies. The cat had no reported contact with people or pets. County officials are reminding pet owners to make sure that their pets are up to date on rabies shots.
Well, North Carolina's Halloween Booze It and Lose It campaign begins today. Law enforcement officials will increase their patrols to take drunk drivers off the streets. State officials say people who plan to celebrate the season with alcohol should plan for a designated sober driver in advance of their festivities. The campaign runs through next Sunday. Well, an Avery County man struck it rich, all starting with a little luck in Boone. Jerry Hicks bought a $20 bill in the parking lot of Highway 105. He used the money to buy an extreme cash scratch-off ticket. Now, because of that ticket, he hit the $1 million jackpot. He chose a lump sum, paying out $600,000. Now, after taxes, he took home a cool $430,000. Hicks plans to retire and help his children. Oh, and here's the best part. He only bought that ticket because the store didn't sell the one that he really wanted to buy.
Good for him. I would have just been happy finding $20. Durham Mayor Leo Williams stopped in at the newest school in the district this morning. Williams spoke to over 100 Murray-Massenburg elementary students who take part in Sidekicks Academy. Sidekicks is a character education program that teaches kids about martial arts, mental health, wellness, and social justice. The program began at Murray-Massenburg Elementary in September.
Well, the corner drugstore is becoming a thing of the past here in the U.S. Up next, why even the chain stores can't make it in today's healthcare economy.
And still ahead, we'll talk to our investigative team about the complaints against the doctors who treat our pets. Our team is working to bring you more of these exclusive stories for coverage you'll find only on WRAL. Visit WRAL.com and search only. Tourists should help foot the bill for the upkeep of French cathedrals. That's the opinion from the French Minister of Culture. He said charging about $6 per visitor at Notre Dame alone could raise about $81 million a year. The culture minister also suggested tourists from inside the European Union should pay less than those of us outside the EU. The French government maintains tens of thousands of religious sites. They are usually free of charge.
Well, Delta Airlines filed a lawsuit connected to that cybersecurity outage that grounded planes back in July. A flawed software update from CrowdStrike disabled computers running Microsoft Windows. Most airlines were back up and running relatively quickly. Delta, though, had lingering issues. The lawsuit filed Friday says the airline lost $380 million in revenue and added $170 million in additional costs. Changes in America's shopping habits are driving drugstores to close. Three national chains, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid, have each closed hundreds of stores in recent years. Shoppers at both CVS and Walgreens complain about prices, long lines, and the number of retail items that are locked up to prevent theft. Many have turned to delivery services for relief. Others find cheaper prices and convenience at the largest outlets, such as Target and Walmart.
More high-earning households are living paycheck to paycheck. A new report from Bank of America shows about 1 in 5 American households making more than $150,000 a year are living check to check. Research points to inflation, pricey mortgages, and increasing utility bills, stretching budgets thin and starting to impact higher earners. The analysis says some households could find relief as inflation drops and children age out of childcare.
WRAL investigators looked into complaints to the state board designed to protect our pets. Still ahead, our investigative producer joins us to talk about what they learned.
And it is a beautiful day in Warrenton. Look at all that sunshine and just a few puffy clouds there. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is back with a look at how long this warmer weather will stick around. People in New York City could get the green light to use paid sick leave to care for their pets if a new bill is passed. That could cover any vet visit, preventative care, or treating an illness. The current law allows New Yorkers to use their sick days for their own needs or to take care of a sick human family member.
A vet admitting to euthanizing a dog without permission. Another injured dog turned away from a companion clinic.
Barney, he was the sweetest little beagle. He deserves so much better.
At 6, WRAL investigates complaints to the state board designed to protect our pets and why one rescue owner feels the punishments don't fit the actions of vets, especially in cases that lead to death. Well, WRAL investigates senior producer Randall Kerr. He's joining us now with more on what we'll see tonight. So for starters, Randall, how did we get connected to this story?
Ken, North Carolina has dozens of regulatory boards, and we routinely check them online or through public records. Normally, most cases involve mistakes, whether they're human doctors or even pet doctors. In the hundreds of cases that we've read over the years, the two we focused on tonight really stood out, and they involved the same pet rescue.
So the question becomes, what made them different?
Right. Well, these two involved deliberate decisions by vets that ultimately cost two dogs their lives. Tonight, we'll discuss the punishments handed down, why the rescue owner thought it wasn't enough, and we go to the board to get answers about the rescue group's concerns.
Oh, yeah, we can't wait. WRAL investigates tonight at 6. Thanks, Randall.
Thanks, Cam.
It is never too late to clean out your medicine cabinet. The DEA says there are 5 groups of prescription medications you should never leave in your home when you aren't taking them. Opioids top the list. Second, certain anti-anxiety medications can create problems when outdated. Third, certain sleeping medications should be discarded or locked up when they're no longer needed. Fourth, muscle relaxers. If used with other substances, these can increase overdose risk. And finally, unused cough meds should also be discarded. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about the best way to dispose of these medications. 12:46 now. Let's get out to the WRAL weather patio where meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is enjoying the sunshine. It sure is a beautiful day out there in the gardens.
It definitely is. Great day to be outside. Feels wonderful. Our temperature mid-60s right now, climbing up to around 70 this afternoon. And then, you know, some people might start to complain a little bit because it's going to get really hot toward the end of the week. We take a look at satellite and radar. This is a look at the big picture. We have a high pressure system that's up to the north. That is funneling in some air from the northeast, and that's what helped to bring us some cloud cover and some really chilly temperatures yesterday. As that slides eastward, we're going to start to see the wind coming out of the southeast, and that's going to bring some warm and moist air in from the Atlantic. And that's going to bring us into a slightly different pattern for tomorrow morning. With a slight bit more warmth and a little bit more moisture, we'll end up with the potential for some gray skies tomorrow morning and the chance of some isolated showers. Beautiful and dry for this afternoon, but over the next 12 hours, we'll start to see that shift. So by 4:30 tomorrow morning, we're starting to see some of the cloud cover, and you can see how it's lifting up from the south. By lunchtime, we're still on the cloudy side. There may be a few sprinkles. Whatever falls is really going to be minimal. We're talking about, you know, 100ths of an inch or so, just not a whole lot. Once we get past the afternoon, we may start to see a few more breaks in the clouds, especially from the triangle area northward. If you're south of the triangle, it's going to be tougher to break out of the clouds for tomorrow. So that would be, of course, Fayetteville, Clinton, over toward Hoke County, Cumberland County. Watering forecast, yeah, you still need to water if you're trying to hold on to any of your plants that are outside. It's just a 20% chance for tomorrow, and then after that we're going to be dry. As a matter of fact, you take a look at the forecast rainfall and it almost looks like there's a bubble there over North Carolina. We still really have very little rain in our forecast. That's excellent news for the trick-or-treaters though. Happy Halloween. Average temperature for Halloween in the morning is 44 and the afternoon is 68, but for this Halloween we'll likely start at around 58 and end up at 81. We talked about that a little while ago. That's pretty close to a record high. Checking out our forecast for Halloween though, it's really going to feel good. Even though we'll see a high of 81, by trick-or-treat time we're dropping it into the low to mid 70s, and at 9 o'clock back down to 66. And should be dry. Should be a beautiful evening to be out and about in your neighborhood. Tropical outlook, we have a 40% chance of some development there in the Caribbean over the next 7 days. Taking a look at what might happen there, we have the potential for a high pressure system to hold this down in the Caribbean. You can see the European forecast even through the end of next week continues to hold that there in the Caribbean and just doesn't really develop it. However, the GFS, or the American model, has been consistently developing it and then moving it up just outside of the United States, just offshore toward the end of next week. So we'll watch that closely. It doesn't look like it would make landfall even if it did develop, but it'll be kind of close to the coast. But we're expecting this high pressure system to keep it down in the Caribbean. So again, stay tuned. We'll let you know which way it's going as we get into next week. So we go to all the way up to 81 for Thursday, and then Friday a front comes through, and that's going to drop our temperatures back into the low to mid 70s for the weekend. And of course, don't forget to set your clocks back 1 hour.
Ah, that extra hour sleep. Thanks a lot, Elizabeth. Looking for Thanksgiving dinner on a budget? The latest retailer to offer a frugal feast. That's ahead at noon.
As we wrap things up, here's a look at a few of the headlines we're following today. Counselors are available for North Carolina Central students after 4 people were shot on campus during homecoming festivities. The university had 2 lockdowns in a matter of hours Saturday night. NC Central has not released the name of the suspect from the first shooting. The school has not said whether anyone has been arrested in the second shooting that left 4 people, including a student, injured.
Police have made an arrest after shots were fired outside Crabtree Valley Mall. Officers took Jaquez Anthony Brown into custody. He's been charged with discharging a weapon into occupied property, which is a felony. Brown is set to appear in court a little later this afternoon around 1:30. Expect updates on this case beginning on a news starting at 4.
We are 8 days away from Election Day, and the crowds at early voting sites are steady. New numbers out this noon show 2.8 million people have already voted in North Carolina. That's more than 36% of registered voters here in the state. Candidates have about a week to appeal to the remaining voters. We have everything you need to know before you cast your ballot on WRAL.com.
Well, Target's Thanksgiving meal deal just got even cheaper. The chain dropped the price on its bundle by $20. That's the $5 less than last year. It's a feast for four, including a frozen turkey of up to 10 pounds, potatoes, canned green beans, cream of mushroom soup, boxed stuffing mix, and jarred gravy. Other retailers, including Aldi and Walmart, are also lowering prices of their Thanksgiving meal deals. Well, Jimmy John's has a new gluten-free sandwich on the menu. It's called the Pickle Witch. It's a sandwich that uses giant kosher pickles and a bun instead of bread. There are two varieties. The Pickle Witch is available through November.
A piece of Gen X nostalgia is making its way to the big screen. Get ready for Oregon Trail, the movie. Apple is reportedly developing a film based on the text-based game about 19th century pioneers. I remember playing this game on my Apple IIe. That's the game that taught a whole generation of kids about dysentery and typhoid. Teachers liked the game because it taught history and strategy.
Well, today's pet of the day comes to us from Safe Haven for Cats. Meet Allie. There you see her. She's a 5.5-year-old calico who is looking for a forever family. Allie is a sweetheart who loves playtime, especially when it involves a laser toy. To learn more about Allie or to meet her, contact Safe Haven of Cats in Raleigh. The number's right there on your screen. She will be featured on WRAL.com as well.
What a sweetheart. Well, coming up on WRAL News at 4, a new crime-fighting tool lets Carey Dispatch see what 911 callers are seeing in real time. It was implemented just over a year ago, and it's already giving first responders a glimpse of what to expect before getting to scenes, how the app was used in last week's shooting near Carey High School, and how it helped.
It's shaping up to be a really nice day outside. Beautiful.
Goldilocks weather right now. Yeah, we cooled down yesterday, but we'll be back in the 70s today. NBC News Daily is next on WRAL. Your next local news update in 30 minutes.
Of course, you can get breaking news updates anytime with our app, WRAL News app. Just have a great day.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.